The theme for today seems to be the idea of God the shepherd, or Jesus the shepherd. But we seem to be mentioning it over and over again. So we begin with one of my favorite Psalms, Psalm 23, which large numbers of people have debated over with respect to what it means. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life. The gospel lesson for today is John, verse 10, 1 through 10. And once again, the shepherd surfaces. Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in through another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all of his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this figure of speech with them, and they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again, Jesus said to them, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved, and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Here ends this morning's lesson.
The world is a noisy place. I don't need to tell you that. There's lots of noise, all kinds of distractions. And in our gospel lesson, Jesus alludes to his sheep, his followers, hearing his voice. How? How might we do that? How can we do that amidst the noise and the distractions that abound? But first, I want to talk about sheep. Sheep are mentioned more than 500 times in the Bible. And the prominence of sheep in the Bible grows out of two realities. Sheep were important to the nomads and agricultural life of the Hebrew people. And it helped the first folks who heard Jesus' words to try to get what he was talking about. The metaphors, the examples of sheep, helped them, we assume, get the message of God to God's people. In biblical times, the shepherd led his sheep by going before the flock with his staff, often beating down high grass to scare off snakes or to flush out predators. The sheep trusted the shepherd to lead them to greener pastures. And that makes sense in terms of the psalm, makes me lie down in green pastures. I learned that shepherds of the ancient Palestine region worked in areas of sparse growth, amid dangers from all kinds of wild animals and sheep stealers. So at night, the sheep would be rounded up into a small pen, of which there was an opening but no gate. So the shepherd placed his or her, probably his, body across the opening and slept there. Any wolf or thief would have to deal with the shepherd first. The shepherd literally laid down his life for the sheep. In Jesus' day, being a shepherd was considered a demeaning occupation. No one wanted to be a shepherd. No one jumped out of bed when they were a little kid and said, I want to be a shepherd. Because shepherds were considered ritually unclean. Shepherds were shunned, pushed to the edge of society, so that the good people did not have to deal with them. And yet, what does Jesus do? He chooses for himself the metaphor of shepherd. Jesus says, my sheep. That makes him a shepherd. Why? Because people of his day knew about sheep. This would help them get it. He was saying who he was, what he was about, and what he wanted to do. By choosing this ritually unclean livelihood as an image, Jesus says loud and clear, I am among and within the least in society. I am among the outcasts. I have come for everyone. So sheep and shepherds. Switching gears now, here's a question. Has anyone ever owned a border collie? Yes? No? Have you seen a border collie in action? It's hard to watch them, right? Because border collies are herding dogs. They'll herd sheep, they'll herd cattle, they'll herd children if there's enough of them. Picture a black and white furry ball of incredible energy literally darting everywhere. Mark and I live on Riley Road here in Londonderry, and at one end of the road, our neighbors have a border collie, and they also have horses. And when the horses are on the move, and they are on the move when they're being fed, the border collie runs to and fro, nipping at their heels, herding them onto the right path, toward hay, toward water, toward grain. The Psalms were first written down in Hebrew. And when translation from one language to another happens, sometimes some of the meaning of a word may be lost. And that's what happens in verse 6 of Psalm 23. We usually hear, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. The Hebrew word that gets translated as follow can also be translated as pursue. So listen to it this way, surely goodness and mercy shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's not as restful, but it's so wonderful. The Lord isn't just following behind us, waiting to bestow goodness and mercy whenever we feel like receiving it. The psalmist invites us to consider that God loves us so much that God is after us, pursuing us with goodness and mercy and love all the days of our life. I love that. Surely goodness and mercy shall pursue me all the days of my life. Not God as passive, but after us. Do shepherds lead their sheep or pursue? The psalm uses both images, the shepherd leading and the shepherd pursuing in hot pursuit. Both ways invite us to consider God as showing us the way to a life of faith and steering us on to the right path. I want to go back for a minute to our neighbors and the border collies. When the dog starts to pursue the horses to get them to go to the hay and grain and water, they don't like it. If you've ever seen a border collie in action, whether it be sheep or horses or kids, the horses put their ears back and they kick at the dog and they try to run away from the dog. They never get her because she's too quick and she's too intent on their well-being. But how might we do that to God as God pursues us? Be none too pleased with being led or pursued, whichever role God as shepherd is in, ears back, kicking in protest. I don't want to go down that path in my life. I want to do this. That may be how God shepherds us sometimes, nipping at our heels. God doesn't give up, pursues us all the days of our life with goodness and mercy and love. In the gospel lesson from John, the religious authorities ask Jesus to tell them straight out if he is who he says he is. Are you the Messiah? Tell us plainly. In typical fashion, you figure it out on your own fashion, Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them. They follow me." That's the phrase that stuck with me as I worked on this sermon. My sheep hear my voice. How do we do that? How do I hear Christ's voice in this noisy world so full of distraction? Years ago, I came across a wonderful saying about sheep that they nibble themselves lost. What that means is this: sheep come to the edge of a pen, and the grass is just a little greener on the other side of the pen, so they push their way through the fence, through a hole or a gap, looking for the greener, untouched grass on the other side. They nibble themselves lost, because once they're through that gap, they can't get back. It's an image often offered to explain how people find themselves moving away from God or getting into trouble. They nibble themselves lost. I believe we can also nibble ourselves found. I certainly have nibbled myself into places that I never thought I would be, nibbled my way into doing things I never thought I would do, good things, but not things or places or experiences I would ever dream that I would have had. In this noisy world of ours, this nibbling image helps me make sense of my sheep hear my voice. I don't usually hear Christ's voice all at once or get text messages of startling clarity. I hope and pray that I listen for the voice of God, for the voice of Christ, in nudgings, in nibblings, nibbling toward peace, toward a greater sense of peace, the greener pastures of hearing and being known and following. There can be dramatic moments, but usually it's small bits. When God, the Good Shepherd, pursues, nudges, a nibble here, a nibble there. Hey, do this. Mother Teresa said we can do no great things, only small things with great love. Sometimes I think it's as simple as stopping your mind from racing with all that you're thinking about and have to do, and just listen to the story that the person in front of you is telling. Examples could be: call the grieving person, pray for the despairing family, pray for our world, dance for joy when it's your 7th birthday. We can do no great things, only small things with great love. My sheep hear my voice, Jesus says. When we most need it, I hope and pray Christ's voice breaks through the din and racket that surrounds us. Jesus, the Good Shepherd, tends his sheep, but is also always going out to find the abandoned, to find those thrown out, cast out, tossed out, and expects us as followers to do the same. Jesus, the Good Shepherd, loves his sheep, calls them by name, and goes out to find the hungry and the downcast, and we are invited to come along. The world is a noisy place, and Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice." I invite you to take this in a nibbling kind of fashion. Listen hard for that still, small voice. Trust that Jesus, the Good Shepherd, will draw close when you need to be held. Trust that Jesus, the Good Shepherd, will pursue when necessary. We can do no great things, only small things with great love. Small nibbles to bring about God's kingdom, listening hard for God's voice. May you and I nibble ourselves found. May you and I nibble ourselves into bringing about God's kingdom. In this noisy world, may our ears be attuned to Christ's voice, Christ who loves us, pursues us, and will never let us go. Amen.